Welcome to Spreadsheet Lab number 2. This is going to be a vector calculator. And these two cells here in B4 and C4 are the x and y components of a vector. And for the first task, we're going to have to find the length of that vector. It goes across 3 and up 5. So the length, if you remember, is pretty much just an application of the Pythagorean theorem. So we're going to do the same thing we did. Use the square root of the x component plus the y component. So again, how I'm doing this is I'm clicking on C4 to get that in there. You could type that into the equation, but it's easier to click. I'm hitting the up arrow, which is Shift 6 to get the caret, and the 2 means squared. That's the same thing on many calculators. So that is the length of that vector. Now, I'm not going to continue much more on this spreadsheet because I think you can figure a lot of this out. Just wanted to remind you that I'm starting every equation with an equal sign. So if you want to put something in, you can say equals, you can click on the cells, you can put different mathematical operators between them and make a nice formula here. So here, this row, we're going to find the components of a unit vector. So if this is a vector in a certain direction, what's the length? What are the components of a unit vector in that same direction? And by the way, when you're done getting this these two components, you will need to, I would like you to calculate the length of that just to verify that it really is 1. But instead of taking and doing the same thing over again with the square root function, since it's exactly the same formula but just uses the values in the row below it, we can copy this formula down. And here's how you do it. You can copy it by using Command C and Command V, but I'm going to copy it by using this little box right here. If you put your cursor over that box, it changes to a plus sign. Well, I'm going to click and drag. Now, if you notice, it is using these two cells. I didn't need to retype the equation. I just copied it down. Here, this is just two different formulas, but copying an equation down is important. Sometimes you'll have hundreds, maybe even thousands of rows with the same calculation, and copying is the way to go. The next section is, so once you have a unit vector, this is what you'll calculate. What happens if you want a vector of a different length, let's say the length 10, in the same direction as 3, 5? Well, you have the unit vector, which is a good first step. But now you can calculate the components of a vector with this length. By the way, as usual, I would like you to just test things. Like, once again, I can test values that I know. I know there's a 3, 4, 5 triangle. So if I have 3 as the x component, 4 as the y component, I should get a 5 as a length. Yeah, just verify that your spreadsheet works. So once you have a new vector components, which this would be the length 10, the last thing you're going to do is, starting with this point, you'll translate this point and find the image. Where does this point end up after you've translated it by a vector length 10 in the same direction as a given vector? And once again, when you're all done, you can type in new values up here and the entire spreadsheet will update with the correct values. Good luck.